Greetings, everyone. This is Ayya Phalanyani speaking from Germany, Anenja Vihara. That's the name of our monastery, Anenja Vihara. I'm happy for those who are already here, that you are here, that you are in a situation where you are able to listen to the Dhamma. Today, to start with, I would like to first pay respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and then invite the Devas to join our meeting. Who knows? I can't see them, but maybe they will be there then. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Samanta Chakavalesu Atragachantu Devata Sadhammang Munirajasa Sunantu Saggamokhadang Sage kame charupe Girisi karatate Chantalike Vimane Niperate jagame Tarvanagane Niyavatumikete Ummachayantu Deva Jalatalavisame Yakagandhabanaga Tidhanta Santikeyan Munivaravachanam Sadhavumi Sunantu Dhammasavanakalu Ayam Madhanta Dhammasavanakalu Ayam Madhanta Dhammasavanakalu Ayam Madhanta. Oh, I still haven't got my voice entirely back. It's getting better, by the way. But I don't still have not enough breath, and well, anyways, never mind. That was an invitation to the Devas. We do this here at our monastery, Anenja Vihara in Germany, every single day to invite the Devas to participate in the listening of the Dhamma. So every evening when we do our evening chanting, we invite them to join in. And thus once they are there, yeah, they might as well take a little bit care of us. Today, I do not know if, I don't know, this is very common in Thailand. I think also in Sri Lanka, in Theravada Buddhist countries, the invitation of the devas is very, very common. It does have different tunes, if you want to say so. It can have different melodies, but it's always the same text. So with slight variations, but that is in Theravada countries very, very common. So what I wanted to say is that I do not know whether the person who asked for today's talk or who inspired today's topic is already here. I don't think so. But anyways, we can talk about it and he can watch it later. Today, the topic is, what is Buddha? That was the question that somebody asked here in our group 2 Wednesdays ago and last Wednesday ago again. So I thought, now I should really talk about it. So what is Buddha? I have added some more questions, some more things to talk about. Because what is Buddha? For me, I don't think, I wouldn't put that question this way. I would say, who was the Buddha, maybe, or what does the word Buddha mean? But anyways, I try to do my best to answer that question. And maybe starting with the syllable Bud. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Bud. So this is B-U-D-H. And this is a syllable, a root that occurs in a lot of words. It can, for example, if you add the syllable ya, it becomes buddhati, and that is then knows, understands, perceives, or is awake. And is awake, not in a way like, not awake like those people who call themselves woke. That is something very, very different. These are people, I heard of them just last week. They, I think they know several things better than others. That is nothing compared with somebody really awoken or with somebody who is awake, like the Buddha. There is also a word, Buddha, with only one D, and that would be a wise person, or the name of the planet, of one planet, of the planet Mercury. And then we have the word Buddha. Buddha. And that is one who is awake, one who has attained enlightenment, or as it is commonly translated, the enlightened one. So the root syllable, Buddha, has a lot to do with being wise, understanding, knowing. And the Buddha was one who knew. This occurs in many translations, the one who knows, the one who sees, right? So this is a very common and very straightforward translation. This, of course, the Buddha didn't proclaim for himself. He didn't say, I am the Buddha right from the beginning. But at a certain point, like the word Tathagata, he adapted, because in Asian languages, you often use not a personal pronoun when you talk about yourself. So when I was in Thailand, for example, I never said I. You wouldn't do that. Not even normal people would say I am doing this or that. So because I wanted the people get their heads around there is a bhikkhuni, I refer to myself as bhikkhuni. So they when they ask how can I address you, I said bhikkhuni, because my name Phalanyani was always too difficult for them, for most people, even now and even here. So in the beginning, they didn't know, and then I gave them the word, and the people in the Buddha's time were talking about the Buddha. And somebody, not invented, I wouldn't say that they invented those names for the Buddha, but it was clear that he was, in fact, the enlightened one, and one who had attained enlightenment, or who was the awakened one. So it was normal for them, for other people, to refer to the Buddha as the Buddha. And then short after, he started to refer to himself possibly as the Buddha, or as the Tathagata. Tata is what kind of, yeah, it's a difficult word to translate, but if you take it literally, Tata is like, you would say it in English, or when you enter somewhere and say, "Ta-da! So here I am." So this is it. In that very similar connotation has the Pali word tatha. So gata comes from the root going. So which then makes us a word compound, the one who has gone thus, for example. But this is not, unfortunately, this is not where I have to talk about today, but about the Buddha, which is a great joy and a great pleasure to me. The syllable Buddha is masculine, if anybody is interested in knowing. Mm. And the Buddha was one of a number of Buddhas to come, who have been and who are still to come. So 27 have been before our Buddha Sakyamuni. This is our present day Buddha. There have been 27 Buddhas before that, and each of them had the same qualities and the same names and the same virtues, more or less. Some focuses on virtues, maybe slightly different, but they had the same knowledge and the same wisdom. And they were all awakened ones. That means that they all had a very specific insight into the nature of things. They understood by direct knowledge and not by just merely knowing theoretically how the world is, how things are. They did understand that by direct knowledge. They had seen Nibbana. They have abandoned greed, hatred, and delusion without a trace. And were known to be the greatest beings on earth. And I can just only trust that, because when I read the teachings, it just feels so inspiring and so great that there's nothing else to think than must be the teaching of the most knowledgeable person this world has ever seen, the most compassionate one, the one who was awakened. So now this Buddha in this time was born, not exactly, but almost 2,600 years ago. Our Buddha Sakyamuni, he was born as a human being. He's not a god. In Hindu belief, Buddha is one incarnation of gods, so he has something godlike. But for Buddhists, he's not. He was born as a human being, as the son of a king, Suddhodana, and Queen Maya. And at that time in India, there was not India yet, but there were a lot of small kingdoms with spaces in between, let's say, that were not ruled, that were just forested territories between the kingdoms. And so he was born a prince in one of those small kingdoms in the Sakyan clan. You all know the story, that so I don't want to go into further detail about the things that surround Buddha's birth. But I want to speak about and read also some verses or things about the Buddha. He was, and that is one very important thing, the first one since eons of time, since many, many eons. He was one who, without having heard a Buddha's teaching, without ever knowing and having seen a Buddha, set on in search of Nibbana and found it by himself through his own knowledge and wisdom and through his own striving. This is a very important part of being a Buddha in the Theravada tradition. For somebody who is following the Mahayana tradition, this is not the one of the major traits, because they speak about Buddhahood present in every being. And as Theravadics, we do not see it like that. We think that there is only one Buddha in many, many eons, and only after this Buddha, this one Buddha, for us now, the Buddha Sakyamuni, has died, when his teaching, so the Dhamma, is no longer known, and every trace of Buddhism has disappeared out of this world, then there would be the time for a new Buddha to come. So until then, this long time, this very, very long time, when the Buddha's presence in form of Dhamma is still here, and to know and to learn, there is no way that somebody else could become a Buddha. So this is in the Theravada. But as I said, in Mahayana, there's a slight different view. So we would, those who come after the Buddha, call the Arahants. The Buddha also was an Arahant. He called himself an Arahant. But for us, coming after the Buddha, we would call the Buddha the fully enlightened one. And those who come after, when they have the same experience like the Buddha, namely awakening, the seeing of Nibbana, and the letting go, the complete destruction of all taints, and going beyond greed, hate, and delusion, then we call those Arahants, to have some means to distinguish who's who. Although I have to say it is not entirely incorrect to say that all beings have Buddha nature, because if you take that word Buddha from the root that it has, then it just is somebody who is awakened. And there is nothing to say about. I do think that it is possible for somebody to make this experience in our day and age. to see Nibbana and to go beyond greed, hatred, and delusion, and to eliminate all the taints that we do have. So, since I do believe it, I, of course, believe that there is something like a Buddha nature, but this is just a word, you know. I would still not want to claim that I'm a Buddha if I would ever became a arahanta. So I would want to make that this distinguishment if it ever happens in this lifetime. I do not know. I would wish for that, but yeah, working on it. So, I said I would read some verses also. So here we have Dhammapada 193 and 194. And this is in the Buddha chapter. There it says, it's hard to find a thoroughbred man. They are not born just anywhere. A family where that sage is born prospers in happiness. Happy is the arising of Buddhas. Happy the teaching of Dhamma. Happy is the harmony of the Sangha. And the striving of the harmonious is happy. So this refers to the fact that it is indeed only very, very occasionally that a Buddha arises. And when I say very occasionally, this is really something only once in many eons. So for us, it's very, very difficult to perceive when this started, when the first Buddha was born. So there, before the Buddha, they were already 27, and they have been born in each of them eons apart. So this is an unconceivable long time. And there are still more to come. And it is one of the things that a Buddha does, actually, when he is a Buddha, he announces that there will be another one. The next one to come for us would be Metteyya. That's what we call him in the Theravada, in Pali, Metteyya. And I think in Sanskrit it would be Maitreya. So, but for us, as Theravadins, we would say this can happen only after our Sakyamuni Buddha's teaching has been totally forgotten in this world. And it breaks my heart that it must actually happen one day. I do not wish to be around when that happens, but yeah, if the Buddhist teaching has deteriorated and has been falsified so much that it is not any longer recognizable, then maybe it's the best that, sometime after that, which would be eons also, there would be another Buddha who finds the same thing again within himself without having any Buddha as his teacher. So the Buddha has some characteristics to be recognized as a Buddha. There are, it is said, 32 marks of a great man. I'm not talking about these today, but there are also 10 characteristics that we recite often, almost every day, and that the Buddha also recommends we practice when we are lost, for example, and fearful. Then the Buddha, I think we talk about that. Here we can use them as I forgot this word. A recollection. There it is. Yeah. So we can recollect and think of the 10 characteristics of the Buddha, or we can meditate on them. We can also try to get some of that for ourselves. So what are they? He is a Tathagata, a thus gone, let's say. He is a worthy one. He's perfectly self-enlightened one. He is perfect in knowledge and conduct. He is well gone, knower of the world, unsurpassed leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, the enlightened one, the blessed or fortunate one. These are all characteristics, and all also, not all, but some of them are also names we refer to when we talk about the Buddha. So in Pali that would be Tathagata, the Arahant, Samma Sambuddha, that was the perfectly self-enlightened one. The Vichacharana Sampanna, perfect in knowledge and conduct. The well-gone Sugata, knower of the world, Loka Vidu, unsurpassed leader of persons to be tamed, Anuttara Purisa Dhamma Sarati. Then, Satta Deva Manusanam, excuse me, the Buddha, the enlightened, and the blessed one, the Bhagava. And there are certain things that one who is a Buddha will do. For example, he will predict the next Buddha. He will inspire people to to strive for Buddhahood. So, in the Jataka stories, there are plenty stories of people who say, I will strive to become a Buddha. And today, in our day and age now, there are so many bodhisattvas who make the wish who undertake the Bodhisattva vows to become a Buddha. So this is actually happening because the Buddha inspires people to attain to the same thing, to become a Buddha. And all people who are, he also inspires all people who would convert to Buddhism to convert to Buddhism in his time span, that the Buddha's teaching, within the time span, the Buddha's teaching is available in this world. So there are several other things that he will live at least 3/4 of his actual possible lifespan. I don't know whether that is something, who can know? Also, a Buddha totally, completely, and thoroughly understands good and bad. There is not even a second of doubt as to something is good or bad, wholesome or unwholesome. There is just the knowledge of the wholesome, the knowing of what is wholesome, and no possibility, so to say, for unwholesome. And a Buddha would always appoint chief disciples too. Will always go to the Tavatimsa heaven to teach the mother, and bring the parents to the Dhamma. So I wouldn't become a Buddha in this lifetime anyway. Because my father is long dead, and I didn't make him a Buddhist, and my mom, she won't. She's still alive, but she will never become a Buddhist. She likes what he said, but she would never. I could never bring my mom totally to the Dhamma, so there is no way I could become a Buddha in this lifetime. So, and it is said he would have performed a miracle, one miracle in the city of Savatthi. So some of these things are the Buddha said, a person who is a Buddha does this. Every Buddha. I don't know exactly the texts, the suttas, in which these things are found. They are not all in one sutta. The 32 marks of a great man you can read in the Majjhima Nikaya. These are physical things, like a Buddha is male. The tongue can touch the tip of the nose. There are things in the middle of the foot, and so forth. So If you are interested in knowing, just read the Sutta, 32 Marks of a Great Man. There is a question of Sud. Niranjan, you were the one who was asking that question, right? To the question now of Sud, is Vijacharana Sampanno talking about Buddha's Sati Sampajanya? I think no, because it's not exactly that same thing. It's perfect knowledge and conduct, this Vijacharana Sampanno. But nonetheless, the Buddha had Sati Sampajana. So this is not completely off, but it's not entirely the same. Now, Niranjan was the one who asked the question, I think. Respected Bhikkhuni, Buddha word came from Buddha. Buddha means realized. Yes, you weren't there in the beginning when I said that. As I understand in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, he said, once I understand Four Noble Truths, then I claim Buddha. Am I correct? Yes, he said that. Once not only understand, but realized and thoroughly knew. Yes, that is so. I'm just checking. I had the comments covered until now. Here. What does to become a Buddhist mean? I am happy to try to help my friends, family, acquaintances to be happier, kinder, less frightened, etc. Often I use the word of Jesus that reflect equanimity, metta, and so on. Many Buddhist friends object to this. What are your thoughts on that, Ayya? So, first things first, what does become a Buddhist mean? To become a Buddhist means, well, the Buddha was not a Buddhist because he was the Buddha. We could say all those who follow in the Buddha's footsteps, his disciples who hear his teachings and become inspired by it and want to practice it, those are the Buddhists. We have what was in the beginning kind of the ordination, the taking of the precepts and the taking refuge. And this is kind of known to make you Buddhist. When you take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and when you undertake the training rules that were given for you as people living in a household, that would be the 5 precepts. And for others, it's 8 or 10 or 227 or 311 for us bhikkhunis. So that I would simplify is what to become a Buddhist means. It doesn't mean actually, it's just words, you know. We could say somebody who is a follower of a Buddhist or of a Buddha. And I'm not a friend of those isms, you know, Buddhism or Christianism or Cubism, whatever ism. This is difficult, you know, because that becomes a doctrine, and the doctrine is always fought for and is always a subject to debate and views. And when it comes to this, that is no good. That is against the Buddhist teaching. So those debaters were not very, very praised by the Buddha. Yes, of course, and it's good to be a householder. Not everybody can become a monk or a nun. So that was the first part of the question. I'm happy to try help my friend. This is very, very good. We all should do that. We when we understand the Buddhist teaching, when we take refuge, I think this is the most beautiful thing, that the greatest treasure that exists in this world, the knowledge of the most exalted person that this earth has ever put his foot on. When we can share that, this is the best we can do. This is why I'm talking about the Dhamma, to share what the Buddha said, because I think this is so valuable. This is the best thing that happened to this world and to humankind. So if you can share and bring people closer to the Buddha's teaching, it's even valid not to use Buddha's to use Buddha's name in the first place. But for me, you know, I'm such a fan, if you want, of the Buddha. There, for me, really is nothing beyond and over the Buddha and his teaching. And I'm so gladly a part of the Sangha. And so there is really nothing beyond that for me. And I like when people quote, and quote justly and rightly. So when we say something, we take something that the Buddha said, then just quote the Buddha said, and not pretend you said it. And most things actually the Buddha said, even what Jesus said, many things the Buddha said. So if for me, this is to not say that it comes from the Buddha is a total no-go. I'm totally not in favor of doing that. But I do know people who have very, very Christian friends and try to bring the Buddha's teaching closer to the Buddha's teaching by saying, well, the Buddha said the same thing as Jesus later did, for example. And they put things into a relation and so on. And like that, I could accept it. So then, Yeah, I think I was clear enough about that, no? But I do not judge you for doing that. If you do that, then go ahead. I wouldn't. So what else do we have? There, according to the early Buddhist texts, did the historical Buddha have a shaven head or long hair worn in a topknot? Well, when he left home to become an ascetic, there's that story of him coming to the river Niranjana and having his servant Channa helping him to cut off his hair. He had long hair when he was a prince. So to become an ascetic, it's he cut off his hair for certain. After that, it seems he wore his hair long and he had curled hair. And I do know people who have such a curly hair as it is depicted in the Buddha. So I would think that he himself then did not shave his head, although the Buddhist monks are known, like by evil tongues, they said the shavelings. That was when they wanted to say something bad about the Buddhist disciples. But then it seems he had his hair grown long and tied into a top knot. How do we apply sympathetic joy, mudita, in the case of people who receive good fortunes from their unwholesome actions? Oh dear, yes. See if we have more questions about the Buddha. And then I come to your question. As for me, I study the suttas, listen to Dhamma talks, help the Sangha practice meditation, and try to keep the Buddha's words constantly in mind. I have taken precepts. That is wonderful, Buddha Ruchi. There is nothing to say against it. And if you take Jesus' words to try to console the friends and family and acquaintances, then maybe one day they are ready to understand that actually what you said is not Jesus' word, but Buddha's word. But yes, I know maybe sometimes we need to be a little bit careful in a world where religion can really how is that word again? Separate people, and you're a Buddhist. No, I don't want to know you, because when you're not a Christian, I'm not talking to you. And so in that case, you can maybe use the Buddha's words, but still, I think I wouldn't. Anyway, so Where was that? Here. Now, T, we're coming to your question. How do we apply sympathetic joy in the case of people who receive good fortunes from their unwholesome actions? Oh dear, really, this is a difficult task. Sympathetic joy is difficult to apply, difficult to have for many people. Not only in face of gains by people who do unwholesome actions or have these gains because of unwholesome actions. It is, in any case, not easy for many people to have mudita, sympathetic joy, because greed and envy and being jealous is in the way. And these things like jealousy, envy, they are so deeply rooted in our hearts that we often don't see them. And then it is, even without people having gains due to unwholesome actions, it is still unmanageable to have sympathetic joy. And I think some of the Brahma Viharas, we did talk about the Brahma Viharas, but we can talk about them in one of the next Wednesdays. Again, the Brahma Viharas, metta, so loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekkha, equanimity. They are states of our hearts and minds we can abide in that enable us to have one or the other of those states. But it is a matter of training to first have some sort of metta, so have some sort of love or loving kindness. That I would think would be a good start. Then the other, if you have some amount of loving kindness, it would be easier to have compassion with other people, because there is some sort of love. When you have love and compassion, that makes it easier to be happy for other people. And I don't exactly know whether it is good to have sympathetic joy for people who have who make gains or good fortunes as result of unwholesome actions. We should rather have compassion with them, in my understanding of it, because they have those gains because of unwholesome actions, and they will have their vipaka karma. They will receive they will feel the result of their unwholesome actions. And thus, already, because you know the Buddha's teaching, that their joy of their gains is short term, because the bad end is coming at some time. So I would rather have compassion with those people rather than mudita. Robert, I think we take the questions that are there now for next week. There is the question, what is the difference between an arahant and a Buddha? I did talk about it a little bit, but not so extensive. What is the practice of appropriate attention for beginners? So I think these are the questions for next week. If you have more questions, then just let me know. We will talk about them. And I'll prepare for those questions for next week. And thank you for your attention for today. That's enough. Many blessings to you from Germany, Ayya Phalanyani from Anenja Vihara. Bye-bye.